We will call this is a regular meeting, right? Not a we'll call the regular meeting of the Verona Zoning Board of Adjustment to order at 7:38 p.m. on April 16th, 2026. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please read the notice of this meeting and call the roll?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township of Verona Board of Adjustment, which is being held in the ballroom of the Verona Community Center, located at 880 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona. Specifically, the time and date were included in the public annual meeting notice. This information, along with the meeting agenda, was posted in the municipal building at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and meeting documents can be viewed online on the Board of Adjustments webpage on the Township's website. Please take notice that pursuant to NJ Public Law 2025, Chapter 72, the complete text of each legal notice of the Township of Verona, including all public entities under the authority of the Township, may be obtained or viewed by the public on our official state-registered webpage, veronanj.org/legal public notices. All meetings are recorded. Instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time. Those wishing to speak during any public comment period should only provide their name and municipality. Street addresses are not required. Please be advised that should a member of the public choose to state their street address, it will not be redacted from this recording. Mr. Tully?
Here.
Dr. Rees? Here. Dr. Cordes?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mrs. Murphy-Braddix?
Here.
Mr. Mathewson?
Here.
Mrs. DiBartolo?
Here.
Vice Chair Weston?
Here.
Chair McGinley?
Here.
Board Attorney Massara?
Here.
Ms. Mish?
Here.
And Ms.
No engineers today.
No engineers. Okay. Let's start with some general information. This board deals with the issuance of variances from the Verona zoning ordinance. That ordinance establishes specific requirements in the land area in the township and regulates not only the uses permitted, but the size of lots, setbacks required, parking, signs, conditional uses, and numerous other such regulations. An applicant is never entitled to a variance. Applicants must meet specific criteria contained in the state municipal land use law by satisfying certain legal standards of proof. The burden is on the applicants to show that they should be granted the specific relief requested. Depending on the type of variance requested, applicants will need to prove special reasons, undue hardship, a balance of benefits, and other criteria. These are legal proceedings. Public meeting notices have been published, neighbors have been notified, applicants and their representatives will provide sworn testimony and be subject to cross-examination. Any action this board takes at this meeting will be memorialized in a resolution document prepared by our legal counsel that will be reviewed and adopted typically at our next regular meeting. At that time, any variances granted will become effective. That said, we are a board that conducts its business in a fairly informal manner. Applicants are sworn in, tell us what they want to do with their property, and what they are asking the board to do. Board members will question witnesses, and then members of the public may question those witnesses. At the conclusion of the testimony, members of the public may make a statement regarding the application. After closing the public portion of the application, the board will deliberate and render a decision. If you're following, we are up to item E on the agenda, the approval of minutes. We have the minutes from the board's regular meeting of March 12th, 2026. As everybody, those were distributed in advance of the meeting. Everyone should have had an opportunity to read them.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from Thursday, March 12th.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay. Second, note the 2 abstentions. By my count, the motion passed, the minutes are approved. We have 2 resolutions from our last meeting. We'll do the memorialization of Resolution 2026-06, which was 2125 Grove Avenue. That was the very long motion, or resolution. This particular resolution had a lot of conditions. Hopefully, those are the conditions that we discussed. Going to need somebody to make a motion to do something with it.
I can't vote on it, right? Because I voted no on the,
If you voted no on either part, you can't vote on it, correct?
Well, I wasn't there, so I can't vote on it.
Okay. Someone who was in, we're going to do a little Hamilton here. Who was in the room that could make the motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the resolution.
Thank you.
Rob.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, now there are several people that can't/won't, aren't able to vote on this, so all those in favor? You want to do a roll call vote? Let's do it.
Mr. Tully?
Yes.
Dr. Rees?
Yes.
Dr. Cordes?
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy Braddix? Mr. Mathewson?
Abstain.
Abstain. Mrs. DiBartolo?
No.
Abstain.
No, she can't vote.
Oh, abstain, no, okay. And Chair McGinley?
Yes. All right. Thank you for the administrative. And Counselor, thank you. That was a well-written resolution,
Thank you.
given the size of that application.
And I thank Dee Dee for her assistance, sincerely.
Okay. Next one, memorialization of Resolution 2026-07. That was 56 Floyd Road. It would be the house across the property.
Is there a Scribner's error on the front of that, or did we correct it? It says 2026-02 on the resolutions that I have in front of me.
that's the application.
Application
Oh,
number?
I'm sorry, that's the application number, okay.
Yeah.
I got you, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-07.
Second,
Thank you, Ken. Can we do the all those in favor on this one?
Aye.
Okay, we got one vote, we're good. We have several who weren't here, 1, 2, at least. Dee Dee, you can figure out who's voting, right? Everybody else voted yes.
Okay, yes.
And you guys didn't think I was keeping track.
Is there a vote?
Oh, yeah, it was unanimous
I heard
with the
one.
exception of two abstentions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I only heard one.
You get old, you have to have hearing. All right. By my count, we got through item F, resolutions, which takes us into item G, new business. The first application under new business is application 2026-04, 1 Clover Lane. If you would be so kind as to please come to the front, remain standing, council will swear you in, then you can have a seat and we can talk.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the application and the ownership, and the application has, the publication of notice. The application has been deemed complete. There is, just for the record, and I think it's a de minimis error, the owner did not sign the affidavit of ownership, which I will get to when after they sign in, get a sworn testimony. Can you both raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Can you each state your full name and address for the record?
Meter Shatil, 1 Clover Lane.
Allison Busby.
Okay. I see on the affidavit of ownership, it wasn't signed. You both certify and swear that you live at 1 Clover Lane and own that property?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm satisfied, Mr. Chairman.
Please, have a seat. Okay. If you would be so kind as to tell us a little bit about your project, variances that you require, and
Yeah,
why?
so we're looking to build a fence around our yard, which is mostly a side yard. And the variance is for the side yard, which has a 10-foot setback, and we're just looking to get it closer to 3 feet, to be a little closer to the bushes that are on the side. I think there's a couple pictures you can see that on, so it doesn't cut right through the middle of the property. And we're looking to put a fence in because we have a toddler that's walking around now, and we have a dog that's run away from the yard a couple of times.
Excuse me, for clarification, the property is a corner lot, so it's not a side yard, it's a front yard?
Sorry, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it's a front yard.
And it's a front yard on, not Clover then, correct?
So it's Linwood Road and then Clover?
Right. Yeah, it's a corner property, so I guess it's considered a front yard.
Hopefully they reviewed that, or you reviewed that before you came in. Corner properties have 2 front yards,
Right.
generally a backyard and a side yard. The backyard is the yard opposite the front yard, shortest, thinnest spot of the property.
Right.
So, okay. And we understand the child and dog. However, the board grants variances based on physical features of the property. So what particular features of the property present a hardship or have good and bad, features that would require such a placement of your fence? And what can,
I
what can
think the
board consider?
variance makes sense because if on the front slash side yard, I guess, the front yard that we're asking for the variance for has bushes along the side. And so I think getting closer to that, one hides the fence, it kind of naturally blends in, it allows us to take care of that property a little bit better, whereas if it's set back 10 foot back, we have to come all the way back around to take care of that property. And it would really just cut through the middle of that yard, and it would actually be more visible. And I would argue more of an obstruction to people if, they're seeing a fence there. Just considering, I think, the property and the neighborhood, I think it makes sense. The bushes kind of hide it well. We're able to take care of that, the lawn there and the bushes. I think aesthetically, it looks better, and functionally, it works better for everyone.
It's the neighborhood has a very community feel, and we wanted to keep that feel. We don't like the idea of putting up a massive fence in the middle of everything that sort of visually cuts us off from the neighborhood.
To be clear, it's not a massive fence, it'd be the 3 foot, and we're specifically doing a split rail because we don't want it to be a visible, we want as much see-through and all that possible. It's just a barrier it would just be a barrier to keep the child and the dog in.
The pictures look, on both of them, you have the red lines drawn where the fence will be. I appreciate that. It looks like it's going straight through the tree on both.
It would not damage the tree at all. It would either stop on either side of the tree or we'd go right around it. Depends on the fence guy, whichever would make more sense in hurting the tree the least, I guess, or, yeah.
Very beautiful big old tree, we do not want to.
Big tree hugger, so let me do that.
Do you have a picture of the fence that you're considering putting up there?
Oh, I don't have a picture available. I can show you a picture. It would be a split rail. I don't know if you guys, so post to posts, they're usually 10-foot long posts. Would you like me to pull one out? Maybe and bring it
Oh, well, there's all different types of split rail fence, and I'm just
Right.
curious to know what it is you're planning on putting there. And as far as the dog is concerned, couldn't the dog get through that, the split rail fence?
We would put a chicken wire. Just can't do that. Okay.
We don't allow chicken wire.
Or any kind of mesh?
We have to have chicken, yeah, that would have to be part of the variance to allow any of that.
Right. Okay. I was not aware of that either.
Is there a mesh that's allowed? Is there a mesh?
Mesh is usually designated as a temporary fencing.
Mhm.
In the ordinances, you can go through and see the temporary fencing. If we're going to approve a fence, we need to know as much about the fence as we can in order to make the approval.
Sure. Okay. I wasn't aware that I need to have a pre-plan, but
So-
yeah.
A mesh would be considered a fabric. That's the way we would determine it, and we wouldn't allow the fabric to be along the fence.
Other questions from the board?
I have a question. The fence is going, you're planning on putting the fence in the front as well? I mean, you're going down the side where the shrubs are, because I was there, I saw that. And then you're also bringing it across.
To try to close it off. Yeah.
Do you plan on putting any kind of shrubbery in front of that?
We may, yeah. We haven't made up the mind for the front shrubbery.
What does we may mean?
We're not sure. We haven't. Is that? I didn't know if that was a requirement to put up shrubbery in the front yard.
Not a requirement.
Okay.
Just softens the effect of the fence.
Sure. I see. In the front.
And you also benefit where your hedges are on Linwood. Technically, those are on town property.
Right.
And that's really good for you because you can have that as a barrier to the sidewalk and you can have it as a barrier to your yard.
Right.
And they can go, plantings can go there.
Right.
A fence wouldn't, if you were, when you're looking, like you found out, to try to put the fence in, it has to go much further away from the property.
Right. Okay. Just to be clear, if it was set back 10 foot, a mesh still can go there.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
So
Sorry.
the fence that's along your front yard, the Clover Lane front yard, appears to be terminating at this little curb.
Yeah.
So why not complete that? I mean, who's to say that like the dog won't run over the bed of flowers there or something?
So it would almost like hug into there's enough shrubbery there, and there's like a little raised bed. and shrubbery, that kind of like is a natural closer. So we've kind of just reinforced that with the fence. That was the idea.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, prior to the meeting, I noticed that in the package, there was not a newspaper ad. Dee Dee recalled that there was a published notification of this application, but she can't locate it right now. Did you publish this?
Yes.
Okay. When was it published?
April 1st.
Okay, did you get a receipt of publication?
Yes.
Okay. You recall seeing it, you just can't find it?
I can't find the notice and I don't see it online.
I have receipts on email. I think I forwarded it.
I thought, yes, we had conversations about it, so I'm
I can pull it up.
almost pretty sure I saw it, but I don't see it online.
If you could pull it up, just otherwise the board doesn't have jurisdiction.
Yes, absolutely.
Where did you publish it?
Star Ledger. Sorry.
Definitely while he's looking, the front yard fence is always limited to 3 feet? I was just looking at it, like,
Yes.
it's always limited to 3 feet, whether it's 10 feet back, oh, she can.
Right,
Okay.
even if it's 10 feet back,
Yeah.
it can only be 3 feet.
Okay. Can-
Apologize.
Okay,
It's
we have
not
it.
a house.
Thank you very much.
Around the corner, you're gonna have a corner and 3. It's gotta be 10 feet back and it can only be 3 feet.
Anybody? Additional questions? Need more details? Type and size of the fence?
Yeah. So knowing now that you can't put a split rail up with mesh, what material fence would you be looking to put up?
I mean, so now knowing we can't do a split rail with a mesh, I mean, we obviously keep the 3 foot. I don't know, maybe look at a small picket or something that would just create a barrier. We like the idea of the split rail because it looked natural. It kind of, you know, it didn't have any visual obstructions. So that presents a challenge because that looked nice. We didn't want to put up a picket fence. We don't want to cover our yard, but
But would it be wood or some other material?
definitely would. We want to keep a natural look as much as possible. Yeah.
You have the option of adjourning this evening, and we can carry the meeting. No further notice will be required. If you feel like you need to supplement your application and come back with something that is perhaps a little bit more detailed, not in the sense of, you know, every detail on a fence, but maybe decide what kind of fence
Sure.
you want to propose, come with a picture.
Yeah.
And there is no guarantee, you know, I don't vote or whatever, right?
Sure.
But you have the option to do that, rather than have the board vote this evening. Right.
What would be like the timeline for that? Like could we come back or
Next meeting,
May,
yeah.
in May?
May 14th is the next meeting.
So come back May 14th with some more details of, now that we know we can't do the split rail, probably, what are some other options?
Well, you can still do the split.
No. Maybe we get creative, do a split rail and, I don't know, put something like vegetation up there. I don't know, okay. All right, that's helpful.
So with your, you are consenting to, that the board can act beyond the 45-day period in which the board can act. So you're granting the extension to the board as well as requesting the extension. Is that correct?
Because we will like to extend to come back, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can modify your.
Yes, I think that makes sense, right?
And while you're making the decision, if you want to reach out to me, then, I can discuss with you, when you're coming up with different options, whether it be something allowed or not.
If there's some, the other
Yeah.
things that are allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah, but also get some clarification though on that perpendicular line off of Linwood Road, just to better understand how that property line affects that tree and those bushes, just where it actually runs across. Is that possible to get? Or just have them prep for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I understand that this red line isn't to scale, but just to better understand whose side that is, because that's come up in the past, so.
Right,
Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, that tree mostly falls on our side with our neighbors.
Yeah.
It kind of skims.
We've had mostly be a problem in the past, so
Really?
that clarification would be helpful. Thanks.
Sure, I understand. Yeah.
Great way to divide your properties. Put a tree right
Put
there.
a tree right in the middle. Yeah, no. The 2 yards are used pretty consistently by both neighbors. I mean, we also probably would put a gate between the 2 neighbors because we want them to go back and forth. So definitely don't want to create a hindrance.
I guess I have a quick question just for my own edification and maybe, I'm looking at the tax map that was presented with the application, and it's lot 25 to me doesn't look like it's on the corner.
I just checked with Kathleen, and she verified that that this is lot 25. That's one of the other things I checked.
27. 27 is the correct lot number.
27 is the correct lot number.
25 is what's on the application. 27 is the correct lot.
Oh, so I am not crazy. It is the right, oh, thank you, okay. Not for that reason, not anyway.
On the application, that is incorrect.
Okay, so it is lot 27. No, that makes perfect sense, okay. Because I also drove over there and looked, and it's, now, 27 is accurate, okay.
You live in lot 27.
I thought it was lot 25.
That's it. You're not allowed.
It's a good thing you were going to put a gate in the fence. Okay, so we are going to carry this application until the May 14th meeting. And would we make it the first application on May 14th?
And Mr. Chairman, no further notice will be provided, nor is it required.
Okay. If you have any questions, ask them before you come in. Okay?
Sure, you got it. So just to be clear, come in on the 14th with more robust plan of the
Right.
things.
Right.
Well, it would seem to be a lot of questions were about what the fence was going to look like.
Sure.
And then so far, that's,
Involving pictures.
just,
Thank you.
even though aesthetics are not necessarily, required by the ordinances, it does have an effect upon, other aspects. Yeah.
Sure. And we want to respect that, obviously.
Great. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, everyone.
Good luck.
All right, move to May. That moves us to application 2026-06, 18 Martin Road.
Who is the applicant? Raise your right hand, please, sir. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
And can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Adam Martin, 18 Martin.
Thank you. Dr. Kraus, you should please, for the record, state your recusal.
Yeah. I'm going to recuse myself from this one.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to need an essay.
All right.
Dee Dee, you got that for the record? All right. Counselor?
Mr. Chairman, the notice is proper and published. The certifieds came in, so the applicant may proceed.
And they are actually at lot 26?
Yes.
Somewhere between
Somewhere.
24 and 27, or?
The block did change on you.
Okay, you gonna swear him in?
I did. Well,
That's the applicant, I'm the architect of record.
right, are you going to start, or is the architect going to start? Okay. Could you state your name and business address for the record, please?
Absolutely. Lisa Cohen, LMC Architecture. It's 2103 Radburn Road in Verona.
And could you raise your hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony is about to give is the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can be seated.
Would you like me to provide qualifications as well?
I think somebody should, yes. And I don't think your client is going to ask, give you the one year, so.
Like I said, I'm a licensed architect. I'm the architect of record on this project. I have been licensed since 2008, originally in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and then also now here in New Jersey. My license is in good standing, never had any issues. I testify quite frequently before many zoning boards throughout Bergen County, Fairlawn, Glen Rock, Wyckoff, North Bergen, to name a few. I present those as my qualifications.
Everybody good with the qualifications? Qualified Ms. Cohen as a architect.
Thank you. All that education is worth it.
Where was the education?
Oh, in Syracuse. I forgot to mention, you're right. I have my Bachelor of Architecture from Syracuse University, an accredited degree.
Perfect.
Okay, so with that done, we're here to talk about 18 Martin Road, Lot 26, Block 36, which is in R50B zone. The project is to construct a full second story over the existing footprint of the house, as well as a new stair addition off to the side. The area of the full addition is 832.7 square feet. The stair makes up 65 of that. We are here tonight to request 3 variances. They are an expansion of an existing non-conforming structure, the placement of our HVAC unit in a front yard. Also, this is a corner lot, so we have 2 front yards, and one of them is where our HVAC is going. And then a variance regarding the rear yard coverage in regards to our accessory structures. So if I may just break this down by variance, I think that might be the easiest approach. To start with, the lot area is 7,472 square feet, where 7,500 is the minimum, so it's ever so slightly undersized. The front yard on Martin Road is 20.6 feet, where 30 is required. That's to the very front of the front portico there, which we are reconstructing in kind. The actual facade of the home sits at 28.3 feet. On Overhill Road, which is our other front yard, the setback is 13.6, again, where 30 feet is required. The house does sit at an angle to the property line, so that 13.6 is to the closest point. The farther corner, just for your information, is 18.6 from the property line. It is not parallel. The existing impervious coverage is at 51.2%, where 40 is the maximum. We are reducing the 51.2 to 48.8, as is in the best interest of this property and its neighbors. We're doing every thing we can to improve the impervious coverage. There is an existing, if you had the opportunity, or if you see the pictures in front of you or had the opportunity to visit the property, there's an existing roofed structure to the right of the home that covers both a shed and a patio, and that is being torn down. And then we are reconstructing this, or constructing this stair and having some additional paved area. Regarding the HVAC placement, again, it's a corner lot, so we can't put the HVAC within that 30-foot setback. However, there is a condenser there already. We are adding another unit as part of this project since we are increasing the volume of the home. So the intention is to just put the new condenser right next to the old one, exactly where it sits now. There was some talk into trying to move the new one around the corner to sit on the driveway behind the house. However, that creates quite a hardship for the owner. It would mean destroying their kitchen and having to rebuild it because that corner is their kitchen, and everything else is already set up to the side without having to touch the cabinets. So that's what we're here for. That's our hardship that we're requesting. And then the next one is about the rear yard coverage. If I may, I have an exhibit to pass out. Can I put you to work? Can you? Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So I've named them Z1 and Z2, but whatever you want.
B1?
A1?
Whatever you want.
What are the titles, the block titles on them, please?
You just took it.
Oh, you didn't say that.
Well, you'll see it in a second. I forget what I put on it.
Mr. Chairman, A1 will be,
Z1. Thank you.
and it will be exhibit titled Lipkin Residence Addition / Renovation. Drawing title is Rear Yard, 1 of 2. This is one exhibit or 2 exhibits?
It's however you would like to.
This is A1 consisting of 2 pages.
Perfect. Perfect. But may I have one also? Thank you. A1 you said. Okay. So the variance is that we have, that the accessory structures are covering more than the required, the maximum of 15% of the rear yard. The numbers that were part of the denial letter differ from my calculations, and I just wanted to review where these numbers are coming from and make sure we're all on the same page. By the definition of rear yard from your zoning ordinance, it says that it's the part of the lot lying between the rear line of the lot and the nearest line of the principal building. So you can see I've drawn that on this sheet of paper. That dotted red line is the furthest back rear corner of the house to the rear property line. I get that area as 3,784. The denial, I think, had it as 2626, if I'm reading this correctly. I just want to make sure we're all in agreement about what the rear yard is. So I'm sure we will have some questions coming back to that. But by my calculations, the rear yard is 3,785. The garage is 592 square feet. The shed is 53. That's a total of 645, which is an existing 17%. The question then is that we are adding some patio, that stippled hatched area that crosses over the red line, and whether or not, according to the denial letter, that patio is being considered an accessory structure. By the definition, I think.
In our code, the patio is an accessory structure.
It is. Okay. Okay. So I wasn't sure because it is flush with the ground with no roof covering over it.
No, so it's
Okay.
still an accessory, so.
Okay, so then-
The roof would just go to lot coverage, but anything, a deck, a patio, everything except for a driveway is considered an accessory structure.
Okay. So then the patio, also that number is on there already. So the patio is another 115 square feet, so that brings our total up to 20. Again, those numbers, I believe the denial said that it was an existing 22.9 going up to 26.9. My calculations differ. And if we want to go into that a little bit more, we can. I have my software here with me. But like I said, the intention is to be flush with the ground. And the reason for the patio being installed where it's drawn is that we have severe water issues in that back corner. There has been a considerable leak into the basement that we need to remediate. As part of this construction project, we are going to be excavating all the way down to the footing in that one corner so that we can provide additional waterproofing on that back corner. We're going to be refilling and then putting the patio over it so that we can direct the water away from wherever this leak occurred. So that's why the patio is there, and that's why we're requesting this variance. In addition to that, there were 2 letters, review letters that were sent to us. One was from Len Mendola, the building subcode official, just requesting that the area be maintained and debris cleaned daily and the dumpster covered overnight, which we agree to. There was also a question from Boswell, the borough engineer, about our limits of disturbance and our equipment access. That's the second page of the exhibit that you've been handed. There are some grading issues on site. If you're approaching from Martin Road, you can't really bring any equipment up the front of the house. Our intention, and our contractor's here tonight if you'd like to hear directly from him, but the intention is where those arrows are is where all the equipment will access the site, and he will then, drive the equipment around as needed to get to the areas of disturbance where we're doing that work. There is no intention of coming up from the other side or from the front of the property line. I think the last thing on that letter from the engineer was that all roof leaders and drains not be directed to the public right of way, of course, but to their own property and to an absorbent area, which is indeed our intention and what we'll testify to tonight. I have the drawings here. If there's any questions, I'm happy to address anything that you want to ask.
I think just to clarify, and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, but the rear yard is calculated minus the side and front yard setbacks. Is that right?
No, the rear yard is from the rear yard is the
Yeah.
It's from the last wall, principal dwelling to the rear yard, and it includes the side yard setback.
Okay, then we got to talk.
Okay.
Okay. So if that's the case, then where's the disconnect? I think that's what she's asking.
Where's the disconnect? I'm sorry.
So there's a discrepancy between the denial letter of being 3,000, whatever it was.
I don't have my original calculations here. I may have just made an error. The variance will still be needed. It's just less of the square footage.
Just
But I
about
apologize if the calculation was incorrect.
Okay.
And actually, with my original was stupid for that one.
I'm also taking mine directly from my software. It's very accurate. I assume you were probably scaling off of my drawings. Right, so that.
I don't have fancy filming.
Right. I don't know if that's the entire reason, but I'll just share that.
Absolutely.
And this is the one case where the environmental commission didn't give us the resolution. Usually the environmental commission, when they see 2 discrepancies from your numbers and staff, they usually come up with their own.
You need a couple of
Did you really
opinions
want to
in
go
a
there,
minute.
Mr. Chairman? I don't,
I'm willing to work with what we have.
yes.
Okay, can we talk about the HVAC unit? So you said you're placing a new second one right next to the existing first one?
Yep.
And that is, if we are looking at the front of the house, it is to the left-hand side?
The existing one, if you're looking at the front of the house, the existing one is further back. On the
But,
east road.
to
To the left-hand side, yes,
yes.
yes, sorry, yes.
Okay.
On the side facing over Hill Road.
Okay, so so the air conditioning units, how far away would you say is the closest house besides your own?
To the house, I can tell you,
Yeah, so it's pretty far away.
Yeah.
So noise is not really an issue?
no, the units sit 11 feet from the street.
Okay. Is there any sort of, I would say, kind of like camouflage shrubs around them, or anything blocking it from the, from a street view?
Yes, there is. There's a white lattice, plastic lattice fence around the existing unit, yes.
And that will be enlarged to include the second one?
Yes, we will.
So we could not find a approval for the first one. So if we're approving one in that location, we should approve the original one as well, because we don't show any record of a zoning approval or building approval for it.
You had mentioned that it creates a hardship to relocate that. Can you elaborate on that?
Can we call up the contractor to speak to that?
You want to leave, turn over to the applicant with the architecture and then hold that question?
Can we try to do that first?
Just have a seat.
Let us just continue with the architect,
That's fine.
so that we don't lose, and we can go after the contractor. Contractor can go after.
It only matters to me because it's easier to write the resolutions. The minutes then flow better.
Any other requests, council?
No, we have a witness and we should deal with that witness.
While we're talking about the units, I just want to state that the homeowner says the existing AC unit, the garage, and the shed were all there when they purchased this house. They didn't install any of them.
How long have you owned the house, sir?
We purchased the house in July or August of 2012.
Thank you.
You're the one who put the retaining wall up in the front and around the side? That was there already?
That was there when we purchased the home as well.
Okay, so for the variance that you're requesting for the pre-existing non-conforming setback, so that is due to having the second floor being, added on, as well as the, it's the stairs that are
We're
going?
reconstructing, they're in extremely poor repair, so we are reconstructing the front portico, which is not conforming, but the front facade of the house doesn't conform either. That's only at 28 and change. But yes, it's because we were extending that nonconformity vertical for the second floor.
Okay.
And that violates both front yard setbacks.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yes, they're both on the front, yeah.
Yeah. All good.
And by your calculations, how many square feet is the variance that you're requesting for the above the 15% accessory structures in the rear?
So by my calculations, the existing rear yard coverage by accessory structure is 17% and proposed is 20. Would you like the breakdown of the numbers? The square footages?
If you have them.
I do.
that'd be great.
The garage is 592, the shed is 53, the patio is 115 for a total of 760.
It's an additional 115 square feet.
Yes, that's the new part, yes.
That's the new part that is above what
That
is.
will bring it to 20% from 17.
Yeah.
So the lot coverage existing at 1738 is the existing garage and the house footprint. Is that right?
The lot coverage is, yes, it's all building forms, yes. The garage, the shed, the house.
And, wait, and the front porch.
Yes.
So how is that being reduced then?
Because it was also the roofed shed and patio area that we're taking down. If you look on the site plan, there are some dotted lines there and a note saying that we're removing. And if you look at the pictures to the right, if you're standing on Martin to the right of the home, there's a substantial structure there that we're taking down.
What is the age of the house? When was the house built?
My recollection from the purchase was 1920s or 19...
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the addition, particularly the stair addition?
Sure. So actually speaking to the fact that it's a 100-year-old home, there is an existing stair. If you look on page 2, these are the same drawings that are submitted, so not an additional exhibit. But if you look on page 2, these are the demolition drawings. There's a stair that exists there already that's being denoted as being removed. That's the existing stair. It is not even remotely to code. I would venture to call it a ladder. Sorry. I've seen a lot of 100-year-old homes. This one is quite steep. So it needed to be brought to code because we're going to have everybody living upstairs. I mean, everyone lives there now, but you can only do so much as we get older. So we needed to reconstruct the stair, and because it is so far beyond compliance, to bring it into compliance, it just simply did not fit within the home. So we gave it its own structure to the side. So if we look at the next page, these are the proposed plans. So we've removed where the stair is, and we've added a 8'7.5" by 7'6.5" structure off to the side that will have a stair going all the way from the second floor down to the basement. And then upstairs, there's currently 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and the new addition provides for 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms.
Just so I can make sure I'm looking at what you have up here, can you tell me what your numbers are?
A1.
That's A1.
You're on the right page. I can see it.
So when you have the new perforated drain that you're putting, where is that being gathered? Where are you taking the water from there?
Where is it being gathered?
Yeah, like where it's circling.
It's circling wherever we're putting in a new footing, so it's going to go around the stair.
Okay.
I think I also called for it, can't see. I think I also called for it to be added where there's that water issue in the back corner, just
Okay.
to add a drain where we know there's water.
Okay, so it's going to go continuous around the entire house, or?
I don't believe it's going to go. Just the new stuff.
Just a new, okay.
Yeah.
And where does that discharge?
Can we have him come add his testimony? If there's no, if the remainder of the questions are to that, topic.
Anybody have any more questions clearly capable of being answered by our architect? I have to ask, is there anyone from the public who would like to ask our architect a question? Seeing none, certainly we can replace our architect with our contractor.
Sir, can you state your name, business address for the record?
Yes, Greg Letterogan, Casanova Construction 555, Industrial Road, Carlsbad, New Jersey, 07072.
Can you spell your last name for our?
Laterovin.
Sir, you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
You don't need to vet a contractor any further. No, he's not testifying as an expert, not offering any details about it.
Well, I am registered with the DCA, and my registration is in good standing. We just renewed. If that satisfies?
Just thought I did.
I knew that's going to satisfy, so we're good. Okay. So what are the questions we answered?
If you could address, number one, where the footing drain is going to discharge,
Mm-hmm.
and the hardship as to why the HVAC unit would mean destroying.
All right, so we'll go over the HVAC unit. So as you guys already know, we made testimony that the HVAC units are going to be located on the rear left of the addition, rear left of the structure. With that being said, the existing first floor, 70 to 80% of the existing first floor is going to stay intact. So we're essentially adding a level, sistering and putting a new structure right above their kitchen, and he can testify is fairly new within the last 3 to 5 years. So the kitchen is in very good condition, and at this time, he doesn't have the feasibility to redo the kitchen. There's really no need for it. Where the HVAC unit currently stands is on the left side where the last cabinet stands. So if we were to relocate the unit towards the back of the structure, that's the entire row where the cabinetry is. So a row of cabinetry will have to come off, countertop will have to come off, and lower cabinets will have to come off in order for us to open the bay to get the HVAC line set in and through the rear of the structure.
Is there a basement?
Yes, there is.
You can't go through the basement?
You have 2 units. We're talking about the second floor unit.
No, I understand that, but,
The second floor unit is going to go in the attic.
right, so the air handler's in the attic and then the condenser's on the outside.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so the line set from the attic unit to the condenser is going to come out the rear wall, go down into the first floor wall, and then come out adjacent to the condenser going out from the basement.
Okay, and you don't want to touch it from the inside, that's what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
We don't want to re-modify an existing structure, because as you guys may know already, that once a cabinet is already in place and installed, it's almost impossible to cover up the existing nail holes, the existing craftsmanship that was done prior to.
Is there all new siding that's
Yes.
proposed? So you could go from the outside?
I can, but due to the age of the house, that it's probably from 1920, there's probably going to be a high probability that there's an additional substrate in the siding that may potentially be asbestos, and I do not want to expose that or encounter that. So we're only going to peel back the vinyl siding that's already there now, encapsulate what's behind it, and then apply the new over it.
Am I understanding you don't know what's behind the vinyl right now?
No, we haven't verified
Okay.
We'll verify, we'll do a
Because
verify.
there were a lot of asbestos shingle houses in that area.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think it was permissible to go over that.
Yes.
As long as you didn't disturb anything.
So
we're
that's
fine.
that's what I testified, that we
Okay.
would do an encapsulation. The encapsulation would make a rigid form insulation to encapsulate the existing asbestos, and then the new siding to be applied over.
There may also be clapboard under the asbestos. Is there going to be any issues with, well, I'm asking, but would there be any issues with weight, or being too many layers on top of each other? Would that be a construction issue?
Yeah, no.
No, okay.
There wouldn't be, because we're replacing that first layer that's existing now with the same substrate going into it, and then we're just going to level it
So
going up to the
you're going to have the same
thickness straight
same
up.
signature up and down.
Did you put R5? You should have, you have the R5. So typically with the rest track and the energy calculations also, on the second floor, we're putting 1-inch insulation, R5 rigid foam on the exterior for continuous R value. So that's also going to give us the same meat on the depth of any sidings from the first floor.
Where is the air handler for the existing unit located now?
In the basement.
That's in the basement?
Yes.
Okay. So with the new addition would be in an attic
No,
level?
so we're going to have two units. So we're going to have the existing one in the basement. That's relocated proximal to the chimney, where you see that little bump out on the house.
Which diagram you were?
So I'm looking at this one, the smaller one.
Okay, the
site
one
plan?
that you just handed out. Gotcha.
Yes, so I'm looking at the site plan where the two HVAC condensers are located. So adjacent to the right of that, towards the front of the structure, you see a little rectangle. That's the location of the existing chimney. So the air handler is located within a couple feet from there.
And you foresee being able to do all of that construction facing it on the right side, facing it by entering through the existing driveway?
Yes.
Okay. You have room between that and the existing garage?
I do.
And you're not going to disturb the bat cave next door?
No.
Okay.
I always ask this question, and maybe this is for the applicant. I know you had to send the letters out to, everybody within certain feet. Have you had any discussions with the people who are immediately, advising them? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, as you know, they see a letter and, maybe the letter was sent out and, they just didn't have the opportunity to show up here. So I would like you, to give me some feedback that you may or may not have gotten from your closest neighbors.
Of course. Excuse me. The neighbors to the right of the property and to the rear of the property and across Overhill Road all have school-age children, as we do, so we see them quite regularly, as you can imagine. So they are all well aware of the project, as are the neighbors across the street, or directly across the street. I've heard no ill will towards anything about it, and yes, we did conform with all of the notices as well.
No, I appreciate you giving that feedback because, many people will get a letter and they'll look at it and it's sort of intimidating. They'll say, well, you can show up at the formal hearing and voice your complaints, but some people, might grumble and say, but I don't want to go before a formal board and make a complaint because I don't want to get my...
One of the neighbors was actually thinking about coming tonight to speak in favor of the project, the one who lives directly to the right of you.
Okay.
Yes. fully support.
Yes.
I had a game, couldn't.
She had a
make it.
lacrosse game.
But no ill will, yes.
No, I mean, and I know that's maybe technically not part of the
Of course.
process, but living in the real world, they're going to have to put up with the, somewhat inconvenience of, the construction. I mean, that's just the fact of life. I'm sure you will do everything in your power to minimize the effects of if these variances are approved, to minimize any,
Disturbances, we'll mitigate
hardship for the
disturbances.
neighbors. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Counselor, can I go back to the architect for a second?
Sure. As long as Dee Dee gets it.
I just wanted to ask, what is your take on the unusual shape of this lot for this type of project?
Right. I mean, it's definitely limiting. There was not really any option for us to expand any more to the side than we've already done, and certainly not to the back because it's their driveway and that garage is there. It is an irregularly shaped lot. There are existing nonconformities. Maybe we had, I think, maybe a couple more feet to the right that we could have stretched it, but we didn't want to. But we could not have fit the added program that we need anywhere else on the site except to continue it vertically.
Will the second floor get you a view of New York?
We're going to see the Statue of Liberty from there.
And if y'all want to.
Oh, wait, did you want us to go higher? No, I'm just kidding.
I have a question. How are you getting in the shear wall panels if you're not touching the siding or the interior?
The shear wall panels will not be required on an existing portion of the structure.
Was it calling for it?
It's like you got, if I look at the structural drawings, you're putting in like, double studs on sides of walls, detail 6 on S2, and then it's called out on the elevations. All 4 elevations, actually.
You said detail 2 on S6? Oh, S,
And if you look at detail 6 on the,
you had it backwards. Detail 6 on S2.
it looks like you're opening up that entire wall.
There are shear panels that extend all the way down. In certain sections, there are shear panels that need to extend certain areas
Yeah,
down.
but one of those areas is that kitchen on the back wall in the rear elevation. If you look at A2 on page 3, I mean, detail 3 on A2.
Yes.
So it looks like you're cutting open that whole wall where you then drop.
Yeah, probably a little bit more than we anticipated having to do. Can you do anything with that?
Shear wall.
Yeah.
Shear walls, they do that.
And the HVAC.
Shear wall. So we should, if you have that, then we should be able to do that from the outside.
Yeah, it's nearby, but it's even more of the wall that we weren't planning on opening. It is nearby, but it's not exactly where we would be putting it.
So the HVAC line set will come down to the right of that rear window, right down here, and will go proximal to the chimney, like we're to the right side here towards the rear. So we're not gonna be in the shear panel zone. We're gonna be
Once I'm
about
in the attic, I can route that pipe anywhere, right? It's just
It's copper, it's the 3/4 copper and then 1/8 inch copper, so it can't bend over like 75 degrees. So the bending, the continuous bending will be an issue, but we can't go bay to bay. We can't switch over diagonal on base.
mine bends down and bends over.
Yeah, to a certain degree. To a certain degree. You're only allowed 190 out of the exterior wall.
You can relocate then the HVAC over to where this is?
In the middle, yeah, we can, if that's what you guys want. There's no reason for not being able to.
There's nothing else in the attic, right? Or
No, so the first floor unit, we're not replacing, it's staying existing.
Right, so we'd have to, the unit that's to the left already, the existing one,
the
which,
one in the basement is just through the,
right, but I understand that one needs approval also because there wasn't a record of it, right? So that one is not intended to be moved because it was there before they purchased the house. If you'd like to make it a condition of a condition of the agreement, then that we put the HVAC directly by the shear wall and achieve it from the outside, we would agree to that.
Is there a reason why you would want that? I mean, I would think having both units next to each other when it's nowhere near any kind of house, it would be
There are towns that
you're
will,
taking out that wall, so
right,
you have access.
and there are towns that absolutely will not allow condensers in front yards, period.
Okay, that's fine.
Just following up on questions that are asked, we're talking a lot about it. What is the current heating system? Is that combined with is it a forced air?
It's forced hot air.
It is forced hot air?
Yes.
So you're just going to continue a forced hot air system on the addition if it's approved?
So what we're gonna do is we have one unit that's going to control the basement and the first floor, and then we're gonna have another unit isolated to the second floor and the staircase.
Okay, and the second floor unit will be both the heating and the cooling?
Correct. Yeah, they didn't really hear it.
Just for my clarification, I know you went with the architect. I think you did answer my question, but I just want to, the two reports that you did get, one from Mr. Mendola and the other one from Boswell, you don't have any problem with these being put in there as conditions of approval if the variance is granted?
That's correct.
That's correct? Very good.
All right, going back to one of my earlier questions, with the discharge from the new piping and then also with all the new roof drains, roof leaders, where is that all going?
So the
You don't
roof
see
leaks
that
are
in
all
the
gonna be
site plan?
draining on the property. They're gonna be draining about 4 feet away from the property.
And what about the foundation drain?
The foundation drain will be draining to daylight. Once we get the slope, we'll just have it draining to daylight.
Okay, because you do have the slope on the site.
Yes, there's a very high slope on site, which is majority of our machine constraint to our access to the streets. That's why there's no way we can get a machine from the front. It's too dangerous. The elevation is too steep.
What do you mean, excuse me, Rich, what do you mean by draining to daylight?
So draining to daylight means that so wherever the last pitch is, where we have to pitch to the pipe, we just put some rocks. She can explain that.
I know, I can picture now. I understand. Thank you.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, so it's just some rocks coming out just to hide them.
No, because it's a good question, because people, I'm somewhat familiar with the area. I do live not far from there. And I know there have been drainage problems along Martin Road in the past, not necessarily in your house, but when we get into severe weather conditions because of the severe angles of the slopes. And do you have any basement water issues now, or you're okay?
So he's past the point of.
There was,
There was,
yes.
okay.
And needs to be remediated because of that. There's some mold, but
Okay, but where I'm going with that, this addition would not exacerbate anything that existed there before?
no, if anything, we're hoping to.
Mitigate it, if
Yeah,
anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the patio, the installation of the patio will mitigate most of it because it will prevent the water from hitting the house and pooling around the house
Okay.
and absorbing down. So we're hoping that that patio will be able to direct the water to the green area.
To the pervious surfaces to be
Okay, because to the chairman's comment before, I'm surprised the Environmental Commission didn't chime in on that, but that's okay. We'll
Well, your
chime in.
engineer
We'll
did
we'll
note-
chime in for them.
Yes,
Okay.
and Boswell did note that it should be drained to an absorbent surface, which is our intention for
Okay.
it to be.
I always get pervious and impervious reversed, but,
I hear you on that.
okay.
Yeah.
And this will prevent any runoff to the surrounding properties as well, in your expert opinion?
Correct.
Okay.
Additional questions for our contractor or our architect? Mike, was the result of your discussion that they could move the condensers to the rear yard?
Yeah, you're actually even taking up more of that, you're taking on that whole wall from the window all the way over to the edge of the construction. So, or at least opening it up to add in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posts. So, you have a lot of spots to drop the line down.
If you were to make that a condition, we would agree to it. It's not our preference because it then places the unit directly on, or much closer to the window over the sink. It'll be louder for them inside the house, but if that is a condition, we agree to it.
But that's not technically, I asked you our zoning, but that's not technically, this issue is not technically part of the variance requirements, is it?
Right.
Okay.
The location that's on the plan is part of that, moving it to the rear, then it would be, we'd have to think this, it wouldn't be in the front yard anymore.
Okay, but
However,
it wouldn't, where I'm going, it wouldn't,
It's paved there, though.
Oh, it's paved, yeah.
it wouldn't modify the variance, so you'd still need the variance
You
even
wouldn't,
if
if you're moving it to the rear yard,
Right.
you wouldn't need the variance, because the variance is because it's in the front yard.
okay. So is that one of your,
So it would eliminate a variance, and it wouldn't impact the coverage because it would be going on existing coverage.
okay.
Just wanted to clarify that. Any more questions? I didn't hear last round. I'm going to officially ask, is there anyone from the public who would like to ask our contractor a question? Okay, seeing none, is there anything else the applicant would like to have the board know at this time before the board closes public session and goes into deliberation?
No, that concludes our testimony. We asked for the variances to be granted as.
All right, then we'll close the public portion, move into board deliberation. And which one do we want to attack first?
Oh, I'll attack them all. I have no issue with this application. I'm fine with the HVAC unit being on the left side of the house next to the existing one. It's far from, the other neighbors, so I don't think it's a noise issue. There's the lattice that's going to be extended, so I don't think it's a visual issue. The expansion of the existing non-conforming use by going up to the second floor, I'm perfectly fine with as well. And I think the added rear yard coverage is de minimis. The applicant testified that he spoke with the neighbor that would be most impacted by this application. He was perfectly fine with it and, seemed supportive. So I would be fine, good approving the application as was presented.
Mr. Chairman, one thing, I believe you meant non-conforming structure and not non-conforming use.
You're correct. Yes, thank you.
That would indicate entirely different scenarios.
Yeah, no, we've been down that road before. But there's only just pardon my ignorance, but I just want to make sure we're talking 3 variances here, correct? Did I identify them properly? Okay. And if I understood the deputy chair, you would be in favor of just handling them all at once?
Well, yes, I'm fine with that. The entire
Okay.
application as
Yeah,
presented.
okay.
I feel the same way.
Were you looking at me to make an approval?
At least two more groups to hear from.
You can go first.
So I'm actually not in favor of this application. I think that one thing that was not testified to, which to be fair is probably not their place, but has to do with the macro neighborhood scale and planning. I think that a lot of the houses along this street have this kind of bungalow style feel and they're smaller in scale. I think this is going to be a pretty significant increase to that volume that's right on the corner there. In addition to that, it's also elevated off the street, which was also testified to, so that's going to make it feel even bigger. It's our duty as the board to represent the public, and I think this is going to somewhat significantly change how this feels.
The only variance I have a problem with is the HVAC. I don't see that there's a hardship and they can get rid of the variance. It seems to fit. They can put it there in the back.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of in agreement with you. Now I'm looking at how I did, because this one drawing doesn't show the chimney on it, and that's where I was getting a little bit confused when I was looking at it. Now I'm putting it all together. I do agree with what you're saying, that one unit can go to the rear of the property and limit that one variance. And like you said, I don't think it'll be that much of a hardship. Granted, I haven't really planned how it looks in the back, but it seems like you have room from where the driveway is between that and the house to be able to set that.
Just to address maybe the question that Ms. DiBartolo raised, I guess the challenge, and I'm very familiar with this part of town since I live in that area, the buildings were quite old there, and they were built in a time, I venture to say this building probably was originally constructed, I'm just saying in the 20s or 30s. So while I respect the idea of trying to maintain the character of a neighborhood, I think we also have to take into account that a lot has changed over the course of almost 100 years now in terms of the requirements that, that families need in terms of comfort, the availability of central air conditioning, which wasn't around before, different heating systems, just the need for more space. And while most of the buildings on that block are of the smaller scale, there have been recent additions that have been, approved. So I don't think it's going to be as much out of character if we approve these as it may have been just a few years ago. So I would be inclined.
Well, but I don't think that we're supposed to take that into account, right? So we're supposed to look at each individual application as its own.
I understand that, but you just, I'm just saying, I don't think it's quite as out of character as you seem to think. That's all. That's my only statement on that.
I'd like to add to that. I have no problem with this application. I think it will be a fine addition. It looks charming, the house is charming, and I think the addition is also interesting. And I think that for the family who needs to exist in this house in this day and age, that this is fine for the neighborhood.
And to address the issue, I guess, about eliminating the variance, you get going down from 3 to 2 by moving the AC unit. Have I still got that correct?
You're speaking of just moving the new AC unit,
Right.
right? So then you have to, if the existing one is to remain where that is, that variance still has to be given because there was no approval.
Okay, all right. So if that's the case, then I don't see why you would require them to move it if they feel it's better, where. Because you can't require, you have to require, if they agree to move both of them, then a variance wouldn't exist. If I'm hearing it
Right.
right.
If both were being moved to the rear yard, then a variance would not be needed.
Okay.
If one is staying and one is being moved,
We still
then
need-
you just need it for one and not two.
Okay. But it's still a variance. It just modifies the variance. Okay.
And just for clarification, Mike, you were looking for just the new one? Or had you inclined to move both of them back there?
Yeah, I'm fine with just the name being moved. But I don't think there's that much of a cost to move the existing one. I mean, other than, refilling the refrigerant, in the line, it's not.
And with the idea that they would both now be compliant.
Putting the other one back there on the pad, I don't think it's that much of a cost to remove the existing.
Are we allowed
Are we allowed to speak?
converse? I know that's.
Sorry. If you would like to address, if that's a specific
Yes, I would
question
like
that
to
can be
address
addressed
the
and
board.
move our discussion, yes.
So, completely understand. When it comes to cost, I've never put a figurative number saying that it's affordable and unaffordable. I always look at, the owner's budget. But to go back to your statement, it's not only draining the line set. You have to blow it off, you have to blow it down, you have to refill. Then you have to relocate, and then you have to take that line set out, abandon that line set, run a new line set, vacuum, refill, and also we have to remove the disconnect, the 240 volt disconnect from the wall, and then relocate that, so that's going to also require extending. So overall, the budget to move an existing unit is roughly around $2,400 to $2,600. So there's multiple components.
How old is that existing unit?
I'm not sure of the age. I do want to say that
It was there when we purchased the home in 2000.
So it might even be an R22 Freon unit, which costs $1,000 a pound to refill.
But just to be clear, we don't take into account costs. We just strictly look at this from a land use perspective.
I'm just saying,
I do.
your board member
Understood.
came up with it, said that it
But
doesn't cost as much,
for the
so I
board
just wanted
to
clarify.
remember that we're not supposed to take into account, what the financial hardships are.
If there's no record, I guess maybe this is from Mr. Massera and the zoning official. If there's no record that those, the prior air conditioning unit was permitted, or if I can use that expression, is the presumption that it wasn't, or can we make a presumption one way or the other?
I don't think there's a presumption. I think that's why, as Kathleen said, it's part of the application just to memorialize the presence this evening, and it was discussed and essentially, blessed from here on out.
Right, so granting the variance for that existing unit also protects them if they need to replace that unit in that space, right? They
Yes.
can replace it if they get the variance for it in kind in that.
And I'll make a totally if they moved there and it was still there, it's pretty old at this point. So, I don't know what the average lifespan is.
So
But this way, if they needed to replace it, if we give the variance, then they would have no trouble replacing it where it is. Okay.
But with that one, then it could not go back there because it would be in violation and to replace it.
You see where I'm going, with that. I mean, because if you get 20 years out of those, and maybe I know I can't address the construction official, but my own anecdotal knowledge of central air conditioning units is, the condensers, do have a certain lifespan. Okay. So I would be in favor of going back and proving the variance as, according to the application, what they're looking for.
You'd like to move the new one?
I would like to
the old
move-
one with the variance.
Yes.
Wait a second. So you're approving the existing one, but move the new one in the back? Is that what you're saying?
No, I would just let them put it where,
As they presented. Do you want,
the new one is going where? I'm confused
the
at
new
this
one
one.
is going right next to the old one.
Okay.
On their plans.
Okay, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay. That's his.
I'm with Scott, okay? That's the long and short of it.
Everybody behind Scott. Okay, so it sounded like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 that were okay with the two of them together. Which way are we moving on the overall? That's kind of a minor detail we can condition, and they're willing to accept moving the new one to the back, but we have several members who appear to be okay with it being right there on the side of the house next to the existing one.
Up to you, we're going to take them individually, then we vote on each individual variance.
Yeah.
Just move it along.
Okay. All right, and we'll change the variance for the coverage in the back end. Okay, HVAC units. Do we want to do all those in favor of granting a variance?
Mr. Chairman, you have to take a motion.
I'd entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the HVAC variance that would include the existing unit in its current location as well as the proposed new unit as dictated by the plans.
I'll second that.
Do a roll call vote on that?
Mr. Tully?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Rees?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy Braddix?
Yes.
Mr. Mathewson?
No.
Mrs. DiBartolo?
No.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
Chair McGinley?
Non-conforming. Yes. By my count, that was 5-2. The variance goes for the 2 units in the same location on the side of the house, on the street side of the house. Okay, that moves us to rear yard coverage. Is that the next one?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the variance for the rear yard coverage at 760 square feet.
I'll second that.
Second.
Is that set appropriate?
I'm sorry?
That's set appropriate.
Yes.
If I can just make sure that you did cite the 760, I want to make sure it's citing my numbers so that we don't have any issue that it differs from the denial letter.
Okay, we have a motion and we had a
The second.
second.
Mr. Chairman, that'd be subject to final confirmation with the professionals, if that is okay. Square footage.
Oh,
Still, if we don't have to change the motion, but I just want to, for the record, we'll just double check your software.
They give everything, huh?
Coverage, everything.
Okay, we gotta move this along, Bill's back. Okay, so we have a motion, 760 square feet, roughly 20%. If we could have a roll call vote on that variance?
Dr. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy Braddox?
Yes.
Mr. Mathewson?
Yes.
Mrs. DiBartolo?
No.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
Chair McGinley?
I'll go with yes. By my count, that was 6-1, that motion passes. We have one more left?
Yeah.
No.
Is there a motion on?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the variance to expand the structure, pre-existing non-conforming setback, including the second-story expansion and the side stair addition.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second.
Dr. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy Braddox?
Yes.
Mr. Mathewson?
Yes.
Mrs. DiBartolo?
No.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
Chair McGinley?
Yes. By my count, 6-1, that motion passed. That being all the variances to discuss, I believe all 3 variances are passed.
Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight. I also, if I can just say, the fact that you guys put out candy, that is there's plenty, it's really, it's quite a nice, I appreciate that quite, like I said, I sit on a lot of, I go for a lot of boards, no one's giving me candy.
First time.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Move to item 3 on the agenda. Under G3. Item G3 is discussion to update the zoning board bylaws. If you were here at the last meeting, you may recall that we agreed to create a set of bylaws, we're kind of forced into it, create a set of bylaws for the zoning board, and we, I believe we managed to convince council to do that, but we've been coming across a lot of other pieces of information, which would probably be very useful if they were memorialized in a document that we could refer to. And I think everybody has a packet, right?
Hopefully.
I know you got to find it at this point. But if you had that, that's the kind of information that might come in handy for us, or for new members, or for anyone, in guiding the board in its decision-making. And I'd like to ask council, how detailed do bylaws have to be? And is this something that would be appropriate for bylaws, or more appropriate for something like the operation?
It should not be, and the board can include anything it wants in its bylaws, but typically you would not include standards, well, you would not include something like this memo understanding the variance process in the bylaws. What the bylaws can reference is the municipal land use law, and specifically, the board shall act and make decisions in accordance with MLUL section, 55D, 70-C, and 70-D. So what that is in the bylaws, and then you would be incorporating by reference the actual law. I think that's the most efficient way to do that.
I guess the concern I have is that in my line of work, I never like employment policies. I never like saying the same thing or talking about the same policy in two different places because there's a potential there could be some kind of disconnect or the policies are not aligned or they're open to multiple interpretations which you don't want. My concern, and so essentially this is a summary of the law, sort of, right? My concern is that to the extent this is characterizing the law, telling us what the law is, to the extent it's open to interpretation or there's, is this discoverable, right? And so like this goes before, if one of our decisions gets challenged in court, this is something that we would have to turn over,
Well,
right?
that's why I said we would reference the statute. I specifically said we'd reference the statute. Okay, I said, well, we wouldn't include this, but we could include something like this as that, the board will be guided by, not this document in particular, because we're guided by the municipal land use law.
Right.
Specifically 70C, 70D. Okay.
I just don't want there to be
that's a
anything
good
that
point.
exists
Right.
that could make it more likely
Very good.
that there is a legal basis to challenge our decisions on the basis that we followed this instead of the law. And if somebody could nitpick this and find something in here that isn't
That's a good point.
100% correct or is open to multiple interpretations.
Right.
I mean, look, I think it's a very useful document, but that's my concern from a litigation perspective. I don't love that.
Yeah, but specifically we'll reference statute. That's the charge of the board.
And I fully agree. I also, and I with you on that, I wish, and whatever the right product is, I think the person that jumps out at me is, I do want something especially for the public because there have been a few instances in which they've come up and simply said, I want this. Like for instance, like a side AC unit. I want it. Okay? Why?
Right.
Because it's stupid that I can't put one up. That's, I think, almost verbatim what
My
the
neighbor
individual
has
said.
one. My 6 neighbors have them.
Yeah, I think the individual almost said like, because it's stupid that I can't put one up.
Well, let me go back. Did everybody here take the course?
Yeah, we did. And I know that, what I'm saying is I know that we can absolutely stand by these rules.
I'm sorry?
I know that we have the grounds to say it, but like, I don't think the public is coming into this sometimes like even,
Well, all that you have to do, and I'm not suggesting this in any particular application or whatever, all you have to do is start denying variances.
Yeah, and I think tonight it was a better.
People will come in better prepared.
Yeah.
Like the
fence was a little bit better, but
like tonight, there was a C variance only, not a D variance, so a planner is not necessarily required. The architect mentioned, the irregular shape of the lot, so it's a C1, but she didn't mention anything about the negative criteria. So once the board starts saying, what about the negative criteria? And if people can't think on their feet and express it, then the board denies those variances. You do that 1 or 2 times and people are going to start coming with attorneys and start offering testimony, and then you weigh, and you go back to 2125 Grove. That was presented the way an application should be presented in my mind, because they had Petrie as the planner, testified as to the positive, testified as to the negative, talked about the transitional area within a zone, which is arguable whether that's even a valid argument according to some zoning professionals. But they made a complete presentation for the reasons that they have met their burden under the criteria. They have the burden. It's not the board's burden.
I think it's important too that the process remain open and accessible to people who do have hardships, right, and do need to be, and not everyone can afford an attorney to come here, and that the fees already to apply for are already for some people put the process potentially out of reach. you start, tacking on $500 an hour lawyer fees, and like, then the process becomes inaccessible to people, which I don't love either. So I think there's got to be like some kind of middle ground, or educating the public. I mean, educating the public at least is a good first step.
Well, this is,
Yeah.
which was Kathleen suggesting, like, now with applications, they're gonna say understanding the variance process. I haven't had a chance to read this yet, but, so applicants know what their burden is.
But they should just at least take the time to prepare. Like that's
Can I read a whole spiel that I put together, because I'm in this every single day, and I have kind of a different perspective. So I brain dumped this a couple of days ago. So if you could just bear with me for 2 minutes or something, I'll read to you what I wrote. I'm in somewhat of a unique position in that I do this for a living. I always have my ears to the ground, and it's become very apparent that we as a board have a reputation, and it's not necessarily the best. So not only is this apparent through my professional connections, but it's also actually cited in our master plan that we grant bulk variances often, too often, right? Because what's happening is that design professionals are proposing what they want without much regard to the zone plan, knowing that we very well may grant it, and it's worth rolling the dice to their clients. So page 39 of our master plan cites that over the past 5 years, the board has granted the majority of bulk variances for nearly all applications requesting them. We as a board have to take an oath to uphold the municipal land use law. Other towns do the same, and yet somehow we interpret them very differently. I mean, there's other towns that you can't ask anything, it will be denied. So what's the difference here? So to Greg's point about 455D-70, which is the municipal land use law, the C variance, which is the bulk variance by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property, or by reason of exceptional topographic conditions or physical features uniquely affecting a specific piece of property, or by reason of an extraordinary or exceptional situation uniquely affecting a specific piece of property, right? That's when you grant it. Furthermore, no variance or other relief may be granted under the terms of this section without a showing that such variance or other relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zoning plan. So quick definition of the zoning plan, right, is to regulate land use, density, and building development to create a balanced and safe and orderly community. By dividing these into districts, it separates incompatible uses, protects property, manages growth, and ensures adequate public infrastructure. So while some of these applications don't bother anybody else or the neighbors aren't here to protest, that does not necessarily keep in mind the mission of the zone plan. These are not reasons to grant variances based on the descriptions that I just read. So, we paid a lot of money to have somebody come up with this zone plan, and there is a reason why these districts are the way that they are. And Verona is very tight in certain spots. This past one right now, that is a very, very tight area, and we just allowed another volume there. So please keep in mind the goal of the overall neighborhood. It's not just these isolated projects that we are reviewing.
Just to add to that, zone plan has been determined or defined by the law as the master plan. There's no separate legal definition in case law for a zone plan. It's been basically interpreted to mean the master plan. I don't know where you got that definition from, but that's generally which the master plan presumably marries the zone plan. I mean, but when with regard to the negative criteria, it's no substantial detriment to the public good and does not contrast or conflict with the master plan. Now, what happens, the governing body makes the ordinances. The zoning board and the planning board are not supposed to legislate by variance. And that's what's been happening, basically changing the zoning. By giving so many variances, you're changing what's allowed in the zoning code. It's supposed to be more difficult to obtain a variance when the people in front of you already got that variance, because the governing body is supposed to always have an overview And the governing body is supposed to say, well, if 3 people have gas stations in a residential zone, then we should rezone that to allow gas stations. And if the governing body doesn't rezone it to allow gas stations, the next application should be more difficult to approve because the governing body has not done that. And it's understood under the municipal land use law that the governing body is supposed to modify its zones in accordance with what exists, not what the, not based on a wish list. So when they say the neighbor has it, and a lot of times, and I'm in front of a lot of boards, they say, oh, they just did it, I want it. And the board goes, yeah, they just did it, I want it. Now, all of a sudden, as Christie just said, you have, one road that has, nobody meets the setbacks because the neighbor did it, the neighbor did it, the neighbor did it. Or you have, everybody has an in-ground pool that doesn't meet the setbacks. So that's where the balancing comes. It's not that you should never grant a variance, but there should be, and, to the point, there's, when they're not prepared, that's one thing. But even if they are prepared, they still have to justify it. It's not just, now, tonight was a perfect example of the two AC units, right? If you square off the property, they don't need a variance for a setback for the AC units. So that's truly a hardship. If that were the only thing, okay, fine. But it's still up to them to present the testimony. And that's where I think the leniency has become, is that the board has kind of looked at they're nice people, they want to grow their family in Verona and all that, but sometimes it gets stretched too far.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and maybe say, if there's so many variances approved, maybe the ordinance needs to be relooked at.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, okay, because, it may be the ordinance doesn't.
What I'm saying is if they are looking at the variance, if they don't make the change, that forces them to say no more the next time.
But that presumes that is top of mind for the governing body, and that they may just not be doing it because
Well,
it costs a lot of money to redo it. There's a lot of.
No, but by law, no, it's easy to change the ordinances. They do it now. That's why you have the consistency, that's the planning board, does the consistency. But the governing body every year gets a list, a summary from the board of all of the actions taken.
Maybe they're not, but maybe they're not aware of what you just said. I
Right.
guess that's my point. They might not be thinking about it in that way. And maybe
Right.
if they did think about it in that way.
Well, the planning board is aware of the same issue. And the planning board has been in more frequent contact with the governing body lately.
Well, the affordable housing thing has brought up a lot of flaws.
Well, that's brought up, that's caused chaos.
No, well, but that dovetails, we don't get directly involved in that, but the, affordable housing issues for the planning board, as I don't have to tell you, you've sat through all these nightmare scenarios, not only in this town, but, as you say, you have a wide range of experience in other venues, and, I can only speak from experience. I sat on the council for 10 years, and to Ms. Murphy-Brax's point, the council was never exactly, charged with looking at the yearly summary provided by the zoning board or the planning board as a top priority, okay? Let's be realistic here, folks. You're dealing with a 5-person volunteer council who's got 400 things on their plate, okay? And our stuff here, while it's very important, it may fall in the priority list. Let's say it got 10 priorities, maybe that's 11. Now, could we be more assertive in asking them to look at it? Sure. Oh, that's great. Maybe we could pass a resolution saying, please, we've had a consistent problem with XYZ land use code here. Can you please go ahead and,
That's basically the planning board's job more than this.
And that's what the consultant was saying in that paragraph. That pretty much was a statement to the municipal council that we're granting variances, but they don't see the council changing any of the laws to meet that.
But I think that, I mean, so the master plan was written and adopted, and it has certain characteristics of each zone, right? So if it was the intent to actually change that, then the master plan should have changed.
No, the master plan is different than the zoning ordinance.
No,
The master plan has its components, and then what people rely on is the goals and objectives in the master plan. So if you are promoting the goals and objectives in the master plan, then you have met some of the criteria that you need to meet, and you're meeting the negative criteria. Because if you're promoting the goals and objectives of the master plan, then it's not substantially detriment to the public good, and it's not in conflict with the master plan, right? Because you're meeting its goals and objectives. So that's why, but the goals and objectives of the master plan are so broad that it's hard for people.
And they can be, kind of highlighted per the professional's preference.
Well, that's
Yes,
what any
correct.
good professional does. I'm sure you've done it. Right. So, I mean,
But I think we've had, so Greg and I worked on changes to the town center, because applications were coming in for businesses that would need variances to be there, use variances. So when we started to look at it, it's like, you know what, we should really allow these types of businesses in. So we worked on that, presented it, and now that's been changed. We've looked at the mechanical equipment. Mechanical equipment will be changed at the end of this month with generators, with pool equipment. So as things come up, if I'm seeing a lot of them, we do bring it to their attention. And just so you know, the administration and the council get a report from every department each month. And my report contains the outcome of these meetings. So they see each month what we've done,
and I have to give Kathleen props. I mean, as an aside, and I'm not just kind of, since Kathleen has been in her role, things have changed, and she brings these things to my attention. We've gotten together, like we said, we decided, and we should ask the council, Kathleen can't keep turning these people down that want to put in these general businesses in the town center. So will the council, so we bring it to the planning board's attention, yes, and then the council has changed some of these. The things that are more difficult to change would be the setback requirements and things like that. That then you have to do entire zones, you have to do a study. That was done, last time that was done, I think was 2011, when Jason Kassler did a...
That was the last bulk ordinance.
Right, he did a lot by lot analysis of every house in town, every setback, so then you had the average setback in the zone, et cetera. And that's how the zones were created. Now, that was 15 years ago. Since then, people are working from home, right? So people need more room. Are the setbacks maybe, are they too restrictive? You may think yes, you may say no, but you don't want something where it looks like row houses, in my view. I mean,
Yeah, I was just going to say, all of a sudden things are looking like Jersey City here.
That's the balance.
Yeah.
And that's the board's job. Now, that goes back to what Christie said. That's the board's job to keep the character, that's the overall overriding principle, is the character. So by granting these variances, are you changing the character of the neighborhood? And that's the overriding principle of the master plan.
and you have a lot of applications that you don't see for additions and things like that, that are literally up to every single maximum percentage that you can possibly have on a lot. A lot of these flippers, right? They'll flip something and they'll expand this dwelling to the maximum. And when a person moves in there, they can't even put a paver, one stone in the yard because it is maxed out. So, we've had so many in here where, they want to basically cement the whole yard. And I think the families are growing, they love the town, which is great. Maybe they can sell that house, but they can't be buying Verona right now because they, can't afford it.
Or there's no inventory.
Right, and there's no inventory, so everybody's trying to expand.
They can't flip anymore. They can't, because they can't flip to a bigger property because there aren't none out there that's in their price range. So it's actually more affordable for them to try to
That's exactly
expand.
what they're doing.
Right, absolutely. And so like I said, for everyone you see here, I'm approving ones that are up to the maximum capacity. So.
And I'm just taking from the layman's point of view, and I know that's not, so if someone is 6 inches rather, over the, the thing, they have to comply for a variance for 6 inches, for a setback, let's say.
And people will say, okay, your setback is 8 feet, but how much do I have? My answer is 8 feet.
Yeah.
I can't, because once you start saying.
No, from your perspective, I totally get it. You can't.
No,
You
I'm
can't
black
coach
and white.
them on how to,
And it doesn't matter
on how to
if I
cheat.
like you or I don't like you, my answer is exactly the same.
Yeah, no.
That's-
And,
There's a lot of
and
them
to
that don't like you.
And there's
carry
a lot
up,
of people who don't like me.
to carry up on Greg's point, and I am going to, blow smoke at Kathleen. I mean, she has, sort of re-energized the zoning official's role here. I mean, for years, it sort of was very, and you're laughing at me because you can attest. I'm unfiltered, you know that. I don't give a rat's ass about what anybody thinks about me or the time I was on the council. But I can tell you that we went through, it was like a revolving door of zoning officials with their own agendas, with their own points of view, and some of them would follow the zoning codes very strictly. Some of them would coach the applicants, and I'm just telling you that happened. So we're now in a point maybe where we can sort of right-size or correct some of the misconceptions that people in the town have, regarding, what the.
Yeah, because, again, people do talk, and.
Yeah, I know they talk.
For
They've
sure,
talked to
and
me
we
for
have
a
that
long time.
reputation, for sure. A rectangular lot is kind of one thing. The one that we saw tonight was a little bit of an exceptional circumstance, and that is like literally in the definition here of the C variance, exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, topographic conditions, physical features, stuff like that is why we should be granting variances, not because, I want to grow my family here.
Well, there's also the C2 though, and the C2 is basically, they call it the flexible C. Because if the overriding principles, you think it's beneficial, then with the flexible C, there's more leniency. You're still supposed to have the positive and negative criteria, but you're supposed to, the practical impact is you kind of balance what are they presenting. And if what they're presenting makes sense, and it's not in conflict with the master plan, then you can give them the C2 variance.
And the existence of this board recognizes the fact that one size does not fit all.
That's why there's a board.
That's why there's a board. I mean, if you just left it up to the zoning official, no, you can't do it. Life would be a lot easier in many ways.
I'd be home.
You'd be home. So, and I'm in no way suggesting that should be the case. But, and we don't have a cookie cutter town here. I mean, the different sections of the town are vastly different in when they were developed, when they were put up. We have buildings put up in the 20s, the 1910s. We've got a bunch of the 50s and 60s, I guess there was another expansion. So everybody's got a neighborhood look, to Christie's point. What might fit in one section of the town may not fit in another. And I guess that's one of the things that we have to, consider, when we're looking at these variances.
Can I just circle back to these documents? Who put these together? You mean? And where did you get the materials from?
Just all over the place, research, different.
I guess the one thing I would just say, I think it's a great idea to try to educate the people, the folks that come before us. In the same way that when we revamped the application, we got better information, slightly more accurate information, and it made things a little bit better. I guess my preference would be, I wonder if it's possible to pull the materials directly from like the training, the state mandated training, the board. I'd rather like the things that we distribute come from a place that's already sort of been vetted and harder to argue that there's something in it that's I'm not saying this is wrong, they're
No.
lovely. I just worry that somebody plops these down in a litigation and there's something in here that's a little off and it provides some nonsense basis to overturn a very well-meaning decision.
Well, as I said, I haven't had a chance to look at this yet.
So, I mean, if you would review them and
I'm
just
pretty
see if
certain,
there's
I'm
anything
pretty
in
certain
here.
that they'll be fine, but, now keep in mind that we're getting off the track a little bit, but I'll be very brief. And to be successful on an appeal, the appellant would have to show that this board was arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable. Okay? It's a very, very, very difficult standard to overturn a board.
But doesn't something like this potentially make it easier? I guess that's my.
I would say no. Honestly, I understand you're making a great point, and I will look at it and with, in my head, saying, be cautious because of what you have suggested. I think, very, very helpful.
And this is the one I'm more concerned about. Not so much the understanding the variance process. That
Right.
goes to these folks, and I think that's fine.
Right.
It's more the one that sort of almost provides instructions to us.
I kind of like this one.
I like it too, it's lovely,
But that was, so, let me just, the one was intended for the applicants to understand the variance. The other one was more an outline for the board, not intended to go to the
Yes, but that's more my concern.
Right,
Again,
so that was just for you.
if we got something directly from the state mandated training, then I don't have as much of it, you know what I mean? Or as long as council vets it and says there's nothing in here that anybody could point to that would provide any potential argument that we recycle arbitrary. That's all.
Yeah, no, because keeping in mind that a lot of judges who hear these cases know nothing about land use, unfortunately. Years ago, Bergen County had a land use judge. So you had a problem, you had the land use. But anyway, the more that boards internally are educated and themselves, the more it's helpful when you're defending an appeal of the board. Because judges seem to think, oh, okay, this board was not arbitrary, they were not capricious or unreasonable. They have their charge, so to speak, and it's not just a fly-by-night, just vote how you feel. There's actually a standard, and the board has considered that standard. I may disagree with the result, but it wasn't arbitrary, it wasn't capricious or unreasonable. These are the criteria, but I'll look at these as well, and then, yeah.
And I think having this standard, at least for me here, it's helpful because a lot of times when these applications come in front of us, they kind of go off on these tangents of arguments in their own favor. But we have to keep pulling it back to like this criteria. Like, is it kind of, does this criteria apply between here and here? Not, well, my Aunt Sandy, blah, 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 because I think it's easy because we're all human to get caught up in that element.
Right, so this was more intended, the one sheet, more as a reference for your folders, right? For that instance, the other one that is definitely to give to the residents when they get a denial so that they understand what they're responsible to prove and what they're responsible to be addressed. The other one was really more like a cheat sheet if, like you're saying, when you're looking at something, just kind of put in your folders. But it hadn't been reviewed by Greg yet. We just haven't had the time.
So back to the original discussion. Something like this would be useful in an operations guidelines. I shared the one that we revised in 2004. I'd like to stay as current as possible with Greg in preparation of the bylaws, but possibly something like this, even if it wasn't, just if it was more like a check sheet or something that we could refer to when we're in the middle of a discussion, so we can say to somebody, how does the shape of the property impact you? Is there a hardship there? Where are your hardships? And be able to look at them and say, yeah, for a C1 variance, they got to justify hardship.
Yeah, I'm with her. I think just because we're kind of in the same circumstance, on our side of it, having a product that's generated by the entity itself And, even if we just put it together, if it's an SOP or whatever, or, that training material just put together in a small, reference, document that we then retain. I don't think that there's any question on that. And that if we have that, that's fine. And I think going as close to the source as possible, that would put me in a more comfortable position. I think for the public, not necessarily like something that is not necessarily checklist-ish, because then again, if they feel like if they hit the checklist, why then are they getting denied? Unless, including some of the checklist materials to get here, that's fine. But then, like for me, the write-up I think is fantastic. It's the case studies, it's the best practices, but it's still, I don't want to use the word open for interpretation, but it's still, hey, this is what you should consider, but it's still up to you to kind of meet this, because there have been times where we've spent 2 hours on, 10 feet length of fence, and then 20 minutes on, 500 square feet of property. I'm like, no. So I think for their instances, they really should kind of get a broader picture, since they don't kind of get the same training that we do. But, less checklist-ish for them, so they don't feel like, oh, check, we're good to go. But the write-up for me, I thought was fantastic. Like, I think that helps to kind of frame it in their head of, this is not easy peasy, lemon squeezy kind of deal. But I think for our side, even if it's just, turn the page, this is, kind of a reminder thing is a great idea too.
So is anyone who, I guess, the most recent board members who have taken the class, did they provide you with any material?
I mean, they had it in class, in the slides.
They give you a copy today.
No, I don't recall getting a copy of that. I mean, they had the materials.
That would make too much sense.
Yeah, I'll have to go back. They had slides presented.
Yeah, because they don't want somebody coming back to them and saying, well, your slide, so, your slide said X, Y, and Z, and the other attorney is saying that slide is incorrect. I mean, that's the whole, we've had a couple of lawyers sitting here,
The only thing definitive is the statute. And the statute has been interpreted for the last 30 years.
Right. I don't believe that they would give us a copy of the materials that they're presenting.
Yeah,
That's why I was asking if they
I'll go back and
provided
take a
you.
look. But I mean, like I said, even if it's just,
I mean, I took this training so long ago. It's like, I mean, it's 2027, maybe, I don't know how, but it's been a long time.
I did mine, you did Clover.
Yeah.
I mean, if you took a screenshot of the slide and decided, oh, I'm going to give this out at the next meeting, what are they going to do?
I might have, because I still have my planning and zoning in New Jersey binder. I still have that
Both
thing.
that they gave us in training, I got to dig out. I feel like they gave us
I think I still have it. I saw it earlier
so
today.
long ago, I
If
can't
you go to take
remember.
that training, and you have not been on the board yet. You
Well,
haven't walked in
I
like you're
actually
not
went
really
to a
knowing
class,
anything.
right?
The training is almost less useful because you're just coming in like this is completely brand new.
Yeah.
I almost
Not that I-
doing a refresher trainer now that you actually know a lot more is like kind of more.
Not that I want to,
They're talking about when they say positive criteria.
Right.
Before you went in, right.
not that I want to shoot myself in the foot, but just saying continuing ed is probably not a bad idea.
Well, it's kind of where we're headed, continuing at least on our small local scale. We review this type of material, and, some of those things might come back to us, but this way it reinforces. It's like putting bumpers on the bowling alley, it kind of keeps us from going off.
Well, Dan, you shared the existing bylaws with Greg, correct?
The existing operating.
Yeah, okay.
Operating guide.
And have you had a chance to look at it yet, Greg? or-
They were not real helpful, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, what about the chairman being elected every year?
They,
Chairman
I
Emeritus.
redrafted the planning board bylaws.
Okay.
So the zoning board is next. They are not identical by any means.
No.
So hopefully by next meeting, I'll have a draft. I know Kathleen started putting some things together. I started them and then I haven't looked at them in a couple of weeks, to be honest
No,
with
okay,
you.
I just wanted to know where we're at with
Yeah.
that process. I'm not being critical.
No, I know you're not, no.
Now we do reports, if we're doing bylaws, these are a lot of extra documents we haven't done in the last 20 years. So we're in good shape. I appreciate everybody's input to that, and we're going to move forward with coming up with some draft things that are approved by council and make sense for the applicants and for us. Last item for this evening, so we can be out of here shortly. Even though we took those people tonight and moved them to May 14th, that's not the next time we're meeting. We will be meeting on April 21st, a special meeting for 2 applications totaling 11 bulk variances, followed quickly by a meeting on May 5th, a special meeting on May 5th for 4 more bulk variances, 1 application, followed the following, I guess it's a little more than a week later, with our regular meeting where we will address the fence first, and then we'll look at 2 use variances with 5 bulk variances. So May should be an exceptionally efficient.
What necessitates special meetings? I mean, like, just can't get at the end of the line? No? I mean,
Yes, that's correct. They don't want to wait. So currently, I believe that we're booking the agenda for this board regular meetings for July.
So can't they wait until
Someone doesn't want
August?
to wait until July.
Well, we also, if I can, we also have an obligation to hear them within
A certain period of time.
60 days of the date of the final application, or I have to look, it may even be
So
45.
just an increase, it's an increase in the number of applications.
Yeah, well, that's-
And in part, that is, and in part because people are just designing what they want.
45 days from a complete application
Right.
that we're supposed to, and most people consent. But then when people ask for a special meeting, we almost have to comply.
And it's not easy to find the room availability, and then if it's a use variance, then, we need 7. And if we don't have, 7, then they want to move some. So Dee Dee's been doing a lot of juggling, and they're not 1 or 2 variances, when they're coming in. They're multiples, and the one, I will say that we're not defense, but the 2 applications that are coming in May, I would think that.
I don't think,
No, it's going to be a longer night.
oh,
Could be
okay.
a-
No, I didn't want you to get into the.
Oh, no, I was not. I'm just saying, with the feds, and then we have multiple variances for each of those, that's going to be a whole night. So I don't think we have anything scheduled currently that's not multiple, because we're trying to balance it too. If we can do 2 larger ones and maybe, a fence, but we can't do 3 larger ones because there's just too many variances that people are looking for that we can't fit them all in.
Is there another way to expedite these hearings? I mean, just spitballing. I mean, we could put time limits on our ability to ask questions, but I'm wondering, does it make sense to have council put together a list of questions for the different types of applications that come before us, so we can run through them very quickly? And if they're not prepared, they're not prepared, and that's too bad for them. But we can run through our questions a lot faster, because is there any way to?
I don't think, you
No?
can't cookie cutter the application, okay?
Is there a way we can review things ahead of time? And, I mean, the same thing as like an engineering review?
Your packets you're getting.
But no, but I mean, like, if we have questions or anything, shoot it over to them, or that just has to be in the public realm?
But maybe there's aren't there 5 threshold questions we get asked at the beginning of every type of that application? Because we need to, what's the positive criteria? What's the negative? And if they're not prepared, they're not prepared. But I mean, wouldn't that help expedite the applications a little?
Well, it's hard to ask what the positive criteria are without the application. They'll say, we'll get to that. We're going to show you this. I see where you're going, though, so that there's no redundancy.
like an opening statement that council would put on, right? I'm going to have folks testify and show you the following. And he gives like a little summary, he or she gives a little summary of what's about to come. I just wonder if there's a way that we can sort of elicit that from folks that are not represented to kind of like.
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Is like, the people that are not coming in with representation, which again, not everybody should have to pay for that for a lot of these things. They should still know that they have to talk about that.
But that's
why she's got.
I know that. Thank you. That's why. Therein lies my point.
But the other thing
But
for
we
you
can't
is
prove
the
their case.
denial.
Yes, I agree with you too.
Well, we're not asking open-ended questions, we're not going to.
Well, you can say, what are the positive criteria?
I'm just
What-
saying.
But at some point, they have to put on their case. If, again, let's suppose we assist, and then approval is granted, and then somebody objects, now was the board being arbitrary or unreasonable? Was the board actually, shepherding this application through? Now, that's different than what you're saying is, do we have standard, can there be standard questions? That's up to.
Just a few, I mean, I'm just, council wants to kind of think about it, if there were, because it would just kind of like, just to get a few questions out that are standard for each type of application, it might just kind of get the ball rolling and direct,
But even in the cases tonight, I mean, we had a fence, which was straightforward, and then we had an addition, and there wasn't a lot of duplicate testimony or members of the public saying the same thing, or there wasn't a lot of duplication, and yet it still took an hour and a half.
maybe more the fence one, but they just, we didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah, but still, it was still kind of quick. It was still, I don't know how much more we can expedite, and especially the second one, I don't know how much more we could have shaved off that in order to save
So I
time.
think when you review your packets, assuming you're reviewing your packets before here, right? If you're looking at I try to be very specific in the denial letter. So it's showing you, this is the code, this is what it's supposed to be, and this is what they want. So if you're seeing something, really, that you can go back and look what, at the plan, why do they want that?
And I appreciate you send us this in advance, but I don't know what the hell I'm looking at until they get their expert out there to run you through the
I'm just
process.
saying, let's put our thinking caps on, only because this kind of schedule is not sustainable.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I think all of us volunteered, but I don't think all of us have, all of us may have one night a month we can do it. We don't all have 4 nights a month.
And that's going to bring me to my next question. Mr. Chairman, did you ask about another alternate? You said you were going to do that.
We did, and the council has approved the change to the ordinance to permit up to 4 alternates, although I thought it said up to 4.
The NOUL says we can have 4, but we're only asking.
Okay, they shut us
And the
down.
planning board can't have 4? Was that, one of the boards can't have?
Both can have up to 4 alternates.
So if anybody knows anybody,
Only said 2. Our ordinance is now going to 3.
the municipal council would probably be interested in having some input.
Anything else?
No kids on?
It is on this week, 16 minutes, it is on everyone.
Effective marketing.
What's up?
Okay, I don't have anything else other than to say, everybody going to be here next week?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to be in Amsterdam, not in next week, but I've already told you.
I hope that your phone doesn't run out of gas.
I hope not.
And just to note, so everybody knows the 2 special meetings, the next 2 are Tuesdays and not Thursdays.
What?
The next 2 meetings, the next one is Tuesday, and the next special one is Tuesday, May 5th, not Thursdays. So just make note of that.
Oh, story in the paper. She's not sabotaging.
The news today was that the European airlines are saying that they don't have enough gas.
Oh.
That's it.
No, and clarification, I'll be at the special meeting next week. It's just the special meeting today.
Hearing no objections, I'll declare this meeting ended, and hopefully we'll see you on April 21st, May 5th, May 14th, June 11th. We have more things than Billy Joel.
European Maybe please not run out of
I'm not putting a European airline to clarify.
Because today.
You're going to blame the
I
crash.
don't think I can keep going. I didn't think.